My name is Kari Ginger, and I'm the host of Know Better, Live Best. My guest today is a clinical therapist in Southeastern Massachusetts. Sherilyn Nicholas earned a master's and certificate of advanced graduate studies in mental health counseling from Suffolk University in 2013 and 2015, respectively. She is a certified personal trainer, group exercise instructor, yin yoga instructor, and mind-body fitness coach. Listen in as Sherilyn talks about the importance of self-care and how proper nutrition is an important piece to have a great quality of life. Know Better, Live Best is dedicated to supporting food and health literacy in people of all ages. Our mission is to cut through the misinformation surrounding food, health, and nutrition because we believe that when people know better, they can make the right choices and live their best lives. We are presented by Bytable Foods. They use blockchain and Internet of Things technology to build traceable, transparent food systems because it shouldn't take an investigative journalist to find out where food comes from. Hi, I'm here with Sherilyn Nicholas. Hi, Sherilyn. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Kari. Thank you for having me.
So fun, Friday afternoon, getting to talk to you. And I told my husband, as he was leaving with our children, I'm like, I'm talking with a therapist tonight. Maybe I'll feel more centered when you come back home with the kids. And he told me he hopes so, but we'll see what happens. In all reality. Sherilyn, go ahead and give us your background and kind of what you do.
Okay, so I'm a clinical therapist. I've been doing this for about 6 years. I started off in in-home therapy. I also did outpatient and school-based counseling as well for about 2.5 years. And I'm currently working as a clinical therapist in a residential setting.
Oh, awesome. So, I mean, that's a lot of just background on what you do. I mean, you've kind of done it all.
Yeah.
And being a teacher myself, I love it when people like you in your position come into the schools because it's so necessary. I mean, the children just need you. It takes a village, and you guys are part of the village, and we're always so thankful to have you guys. So how did you get into what you're doing?
The psychology, that piece. Growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and I didn't really have a mentor per se in like the life changes that happen, being a teenager, navigating young adulthood, and psychology. I mean, there's so many areas of it, specifically the lifespan that really connected with me. And a lot of the changes, again, like I said, going through as you're getting older, a big thing for me too, I was a student athlete for 8 years. And one of the hurdles I had to cross was, navigating from being a student athlete into just being a regular person and working in the workforce and not knowing how to find that balance. And it was really difficult for me. So through going through college and then just really connecting with psychology, I wanted to be able to give back to people so that they're not going through the struggles that I went through in that transitional phases. So I'm hoping that I'm able to make a difference because I didn't really have that available to me growing up.
Oh, and we need people like you. I think that is so amazing that you think back to what was difficult in your life and how you want to, go back through it with other children or other adults, because that is hard. I know with myself, and I know listeners out there, I'm sure, can relate to me that it's hard to, I think, go back into a challenge that was a challenge in your life. Because it might bring up old memories, or just with my psych in general, it's hard to see too many negative things. I noticed it bringing myself down. And we'll get into probably self-care in a little bit, but I think it's amazing. People like you that do what you do, we need you, but not everyone can do that. So thanks again. So we'll actually just go into self-care.
Okay.
Why do you think self-care is so important? I think we all can probably have our own answer to it. What's your reasoning behind self-care?
I mean, the phrase itself says a lot. Self-care, taking care of yourself. We get so caught up in life and just, work, and we're living for the weekends, and then before we know it, it's passes us by. And we're not taking time to address our medical needs, our health needs, slowing things down. We just get really caught up in everything, and it really weighs on us. Taking time to really connect and find your passion and find what makes you happy, and just be centered is really important. I think we kind of take that for granted a lot. So I try to practice what I preach. Sometimes, it's difficult, life gets in the way. We're not perfect. But you don't want to let so much time go by where you're, falling apart. Your body is running ragged. Your mind is constantly racing. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling anxious. You're moody. It all goes back to self-care. By being able to take that time out and finding something that makes you feel better, it lifts up your mood, it motivates you, it rejuvenates you, it decreases your stress. It's very, it's very vital, and I think sometimes we take it for granted.
Oh, I agree. I am, like I said earlier, when I said my husband left with the kids, it's Friday, which, I love the weekends, but I also love my job, so I feel guilty waiting for the weekend to come, because I feel like Monday through Friday, I'm with these students at school that I just absolutely adore, and I have a fun time with. Like, I like being at work. It's a great time. And then I like coming home and seeing my own children and my husband. So I'm like, why am I wishing away Monday through Friday when there's loads of like awesome moments in them? And that's what I've been really trying to do this year, is take each day. Like, today's Monday. Great. It's like doing that. So I'm assuming you see that with a lot of your patients, giving them strategies. What are some maybe typical strategies? And I'm sure it changes patient to patient.
Yes.
What are some typical strategies you might start off with? Because maybe they don't know what to do or where to even start.
Well, with my patients and my clients, I try to teach them to think about the things that they really enjoy. A lot of my clients, music is the number one for them. So being able to take time and enjoy the music and just like really connect with it, listen to the lyrics, that helps a lot. Some people, it's not enough. I'm a former athlete, so for me, part of something that I did and I do recommend too is exercise. You don't have to be a star athlete. You don't need to be the best player. Just getting out and moving, that also helps with boosting your mood and clearing your mind. Arts and crafts are always great as well too. There's many different aspects. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Anything could be a form of self-care. But being able to, just even hanging out with your friends, that's a form of self-care. Being able to have a social group that you can connect with. And just being able to set time aside, whether it's a day or sometime once a week or even on a monthly thing, that is also a form of self-care, and being able to have something to look forward to.
Right. And I feel like these are all great reminders, because I think people know these things, but like you said earlier, life's busy.
Yes.
There's work, children, friends, to-do lists outside of work. And before you know it, it's bedtime and your to-do list is like not even crossed off.
Exactly.
And it's easy to get frustrated. I can say this because that's how I've been lately. I have nothing wrong going in and out of my life. Everything's actually going really well.
That's fantastic.
That's right. Everything's going really well. So why am I still feeling, this amount of stress? And I think it goes back to what you're saying with the self-care. Am I taking care of myself, or am I taking care of everyone else? Or am I taking care of everything else except myself? So what are some of your suggestions for those that maybe know what they should be doing but aren't? Do you have advice?
I would say to, take a couple minutes and kind of scan your schedule. Are you carving out, even though everything's going fantastic, that's great. God bless you. That's fantastic that it's going great.
For now, hopefully it stays that way.
But, take a couple minutes and see what else can you do for yourself? Are you, even though things are going great, are you still taking time for you? Can you give yourself, half an hour of just alone time, whether it's taking like a bubble bath or, going for a drive by yourself, or finishing that project that you wanted to finish. Just see if you can set some time for yourself. It's really important, because even though things are going great, you still want to have that me time so that you can reconnect, rejuvenate, and not give so much of yourself to the point where you're getting run down, because eventually it'll catch up to you, So it's really important to try and establish that me time. And again, life gets in the way. So if you can do something every day, again, that's fantastic. But realistically you might not be able to. So, something that you can look forward to during the week. I try to encourage a lot of my friends who are active to, do some sort of a class in the gym, so that they have something to look forward to at the end of the week, or maybe even at the beginning of the week. So that just sets the pace, for having a good time or having a good, clear week, because again, you never know. The beginning of the week might be great, and then the end of the week is not so great.
Right.
But you still have that established me time, and even if it doesn't end well, you still got your me time for the week. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with all of those. And when I tried doing a little bit last week, and it worked a little bit, but it takes practice, I think, just with everyone, with what's going on in their life. Might be easy for my friends and their kids, or it might be easy for someone else. But with us, I just telling the kids in the morning, I'm like, tonight we're going to play a game. It's going to be a game night. And that's not really like me time, but I feel better because I'm giving my children my time, instead of being like, I need to do the dishes, I need to sweep the floor, I have to get your homework done. I think sometimes that guilt comes from, what's that quality time I'm spending? And that's me, but I know what, adults, they're not giving themselves me time. Yeah. And I'm not always, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I think those are really important for anyone. Yeah. Anyone. Like you said, that children or young adults that you work with, they haven't necessarily heard these things yet. No. Of how to practice that. So what are some self-care strategies that you like to use?
Okay. So I've been going through some changes and trying to navigate, reestablish a balance, because what worked maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago may not work now. So I had to do a little soul searching for myself, and now I've reestablished the balance. For me, my go-to is the gym. My job is very mentally and physically exhausting at times, and I enjoy what I do, but it can take a toll. So my self-care is going to the gym and, using the track, using the elliptical, weightlifting. That just gets out all that mental and physical stress that I carry from the day. I also do crocheting. I do like arts and crafts. I started doing yoga, which is a little outside of my comfort zone, because I usually just like to do a lot of weight training, but I noticed that it actually helps me with providing more mental clarity and clearing my head and slowing the thoughts down. So it's a lot of self-discovery, but it's also very beneficial too.
I love the idea of putting your thoughts down. I keep telling myself I'm going to do that, but I don't.
It's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
It is difficult. I'm still hoping to, because through these podcasts and through things I've seen online, that is something that keeps coming up. And so I know there's benefit to it. I mean, I have professionals telling me it's a great thing. They even do it for themselves. So if you are someone that knows the benefits of it and you use it yourself, it's worthwhile. It's still something I'm working on.
Yeah. With something that can kind of help a little bit too is like, meditation, or another thing that I also use is Reiki, which is energy healing that can help kind of quiet the mind and, heal the soul from within. So that's really beneficial too. So it's just establishing that balance, weightlifting and Reiki and running and yoga. It's different, but it's good.
It is. It's making time for it, because I feel like sometimes I can say, I don't have time tonight for that. Well, I have other priorities that I've made priorities. So it's evaluating, what are your priorities? What is really important to you? What is really going to benefit you that will then benefit who you encounter at work or who you encounter in your social life? It's making that priority of what is necessary versus what you just think needs to get done. And we all can reevaluate that. I know we all can. There's not a listener out there that can't. That says they come home, they have everything put together, everything gets done, they go to sleep smiling. So even though I have things going really well in my life, as in like relationships and work, there's still the household that I can't say is going real well, but I'm going to take that if that's my biggest issue right now. Right. Work towards it and look at it in a positive light.
Exactly.
Going back to some of your clients, your patients, what are some maybe common patterns you've seen? Are there things showing up more now that, like with each client, that it's just maybe eye-opening?
I think for the most part, most of my clients just don't recognize how much stress that they're carrying until I bring it to their attention. They're just on the, and I'm guilty for that too. I'm always on the go, 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 and just like taking that minute to kind of take a step back and realize, are you doing too much? Are you overthinking? Are you doing what you need to do to address the issues? Are you addressing your own self-care? A lot of my clients are recognizing that they're just on the go and they're not taking that time to kind of mentally check themselves. So that's where I kind of come into play to check them for them, if you will. And then when they're able to recognize that and it's brought to their attention, then they start to use, calming strategies and try and address their self-care in a better way, whether it's, let me go and listen to some music when I'm done with my routines, or, let me go and hang out with my friends and, establish a time to go meet up with them, and we'll go out for a couple hours. I think sometimes we need to have that reminder, and a lot of my clients are recognizing that, as well as myself too, that we need that reminder at times.
I think I'm surprised that I'm surprised by that because it sounds like, yeah, that's me. That should have been an obvious answer, but I think it's great that you said that out loud, because that's not something I thought of. I was going deeper, looking for things that are causing us to be stressed, but are you aware how stressed you are? Are you aware how busy you are? Do you need to start saying no to some things in your life? Are you having a hard time with whatever's going on? You need to talk to someone. Obviously that's what they're doing there, but I'm sure a lot of times it comes back to stress. And that's a big umbrella there of what can be causing.
Oh yeah.
That's, probably 15 other podcasts, but just realizing I'm stressed. I need help. What can I do? And reaching out. And I think I love that. I just love that. I can't believe I was surprised by that, but here I am, and I'll be honest.
It's okay.
Do you hear, because I was talking about this actually with my students, because we're trying to teach them young how to be okay with things and fail and learn from mistakes. Do you have a lot of patients come in with like negative self-talk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably like every single one.
I would say like 95%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's a pretty reoccurring theme. It's something that's discussed pretty often too. I try to combat the negative self-talk with reframing. So that's pretty much viewing an experience or an event and finding a positive alternative. Sometimes, some people might say, it's reverse psychology. I say it's reframing. I try to make negative situations positive. If you just dwell in the negative, nothing's going to get better. It's not going to change. And being negative is not healthy. It doesn't help by any means. As a matter of fact, it can eat away at you. So there's no point in being negative. So I try very hard to find a positive spin on whatever the situation is with my clients. I'll bring different scenarios to the table, and I'll go down a negative path with them, and they'll realize that it's not helpful and it doesn't sound good. It sounds negative. It doesn't sound happy or fulfilling. And then when I present them with other positive choices, they're able to pick one that sounds more pleasurable. So usually they don't stay negative for too long. Sometimes it takes a couple of days or weeks. We get into our ruts at times. But for the most part, they are all able to reverse that negative self-talk and have more positive affirmations at the end.
Is that more through talking to you, or do you give them little exercises to do at home when they're not with you, or is it just being aware?
It's all three.
Okay.
All three things. Depending on the client's resilience, sometimes they need that guided help from me. Sometimes they're able to do it on their own. Sometimes they need both. Sometimes, they have that aha moment after a session and they're able to do it on their own, whether, again, either in that day or in the immediate time frame or later on. But usually they're able to come around and have a more positive affect and a positive mindset.
It's challenging because I think we all want to, well, I know we all want to succeed, but we all want to do things right the first time, or we want people even just to think of us in that light of, oh yeah, they can do it. And when you fail, it's how do you bounce back from that? And I think that's a hard thing that everyone, children and adults, can work on.
Yeah. Some things are easier to bounce back when you fail, and other things it can be very difficult. You can get down and like, really hard on yourself and down in the dumps. But again, just reiterating the fact that it's okay to fail because that's how you learn.
Right.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from it. And it's really hard, especially as a young, like I deal with a lot of young adults, young males. So they don't want to fail. They want to be perfect. They want to learn how to navigate life. And it's really difficult. They're at a very pivotal point in their lifespan. So I try to reassure them it's okay to fail. This is why you're coming here for therapy, so that you can learn through these things and you'll be able to overcome it and be better later on. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I got you. I'm going to help you. But yes, I mean, failure is how we learn from experiences.
Absolutely. I have 3 children, but 2 young boys, 6 and 4. And when they're doing, because I see this coming up more and more, like these teenage children, these young adults just having a hard time managing their feelings and, taking failure the right way. And so when they're doing, like, we're out playing baseball, or they're drawing a picture in our house, or they're building with blocks, I make a comment about how hard they're working and how they're not giving up and how they're trying again, instead of saying, wow, you made the best tower ever.
Right.
The picture looks great. And I still give them some of those compliments, but I want them to know that I'm more proud of how they're working on it. Are they giving up? Are they trying again? Because I'm hoping to really build that as they get older, that it's, okay to make mistakes. Are they going to keep trying with that? And that's a parent, me talking about this to my own children, but working with young boys, do you give like parents advice at all of how to help them at home? I'm kind of curious about that.
Yes. So I do a lot of more individual therapy, but I do contact and have frequent communication with the parents or their guardians. And sometimes it's difficult to talk to your parents. I know that there's certain things growing up I didn't talk to my parents about, so it makes sense. They do a good job with letting me know how they're feeling or what's going on. And with their permission, I'll contact their parent or their guardian, and I kind of give them a quick rundown of what they're struggling with, because it's difficult at times, especially as a young teenage male, even females too, to articulate certain thoughts to their parents, or they might think that their parents don't understand what's going on. So that's where I kind of come into play, and I'm like that buffer in between, and I let their parents know. Most of the parents, if not all of them, they're very thankful for me to be able to provide that information and insight to their teen, so that they can build a better relationship with them, but also know how to help them when they're struggling too.
Oh my gosh, teens. I remember my teen years. They're hard. They're very hard. And I think just peer pressure and schooling, maybe not wanting to no one wants to disappoint their parents, but not disappoint your parents, not disappoint your teachers, your coaches, basically whoever's relying on you, making time, and then wanting to fit in all in one. I think I'm thinking back now and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I am not a teen anymore.
Right.
In my 30s. I'll take it any day. But it's still being aware, because I have my own children that are going to be teens someday. And I think maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm worried with technology and everything they maybe need to navigate that I didn't have to navigate when I was a teen. I think I got my first flip cell phone right before I went off to college.
Yeah, same.
I'm pretty sure Facebook was a thing when I graduated college. So I at least knew who I was a little more at that point. Yeah. And social media didn't quite affect me the way that it would have had I been on it when I was 16 years old.
Yes. Yeah.
When I wasn't quite ready. So is that showing up with your clients? Maybe having a difficulty with social media or peers?
Not too much with social media at the moment, but it does affect them. I mean, I do have clients that are worried about, checking their Instagram or checking their Facebook and seeing if somebody has contacted them. How do people perceive them? A lot of identity issues as well too. It's kind of scary because, just like you had said, like, I didn't have to really navigate that, fortunately, as a teen. But it is the reality now, and it is really scary. The importance or the demand on having the latest and greatest electronics, and how expensive it is too. But they want it just to fit in, and there's just such a high demand to be accepted and to have some sort of a social status by having the latest iPhone, if you will, or Android. It's really it's really disturbing and scary because growing up, like, we didn't have to worry about that, but now this is their reality. And just trying to teach my clients, to not let this drive your everyday life. Your phone, regardless of what kind of phone you have, is not going to help you connect with, friends, or help you find your identity, or help you get whatever job it is, or find happiness. It's just a device. It's going to break, and you're going to have to update it at some point anyway, or upgrade it. Yep. So don't let that consume you. And also with social media, it's not real life, No. But young teenagers, they don't really see it that way. So it's a little difficult, unfortunately, but we're trying to navigate it together.
Well, I think adults still have a hard time with that. I've gotten to the point where I look at things and I'm like, that was a good moment for them. Whenever they took a picture, I'm like, that was a great moment for them. And we all have those. But I also know they got home and, like, their 3 kids threw the biggest tantrums.
That's real life.
What it's like. That's real life. Right. And I love it. I think more and more these days, people are realizing that, and they're trying to post more things, adults, not kids, more things online, like, this is real. This just happened in my house. I don't want anyone to think that I've got it all together. Right. I mean, I'm someone who will never claim to have it all together, because I do not. I've been trying to look on the brighter side of things. I think that's why I'm thinking things are probably going better in my life than they are. But it's, like I said, I'm trying to work on my mind. Right. But with the social media, I worry about with, like, kids saying, oh, there was a party. I wasn't invited to that party. Some of my friends were there. Has that come up? I feel like maybe it's not a thing and I'm just making it a thing.
With the clients that I work with right now, no. More so when I worked in outpatient, yes, that was definitely something that would come up from time to time. And it was kind of hard because, again, what I faced as a teenager is a little different than what teenagers nowadays are facing as well, too. A lot of, online rifts and fights and arguments. And again, it's really a confusing time for teenagers. I feel for them. I don't envy them by any means, but I feel for them. But, just trying to reiterate to them that, whatever party that you missed out on, I know it might be difficult because, being a teenager, that is their world, but it's not the end of the world.
No.
And it can be, again, difficult for them to navigate, but just reminding them, that moment will pass. And instead of going to the party, just worry about hanging out with your friends, worry about getting good grades, worry about being in the right place at the right time and being safe. And I try to drive home that positive piece, be involved in your academics, be involved in extracurricular activities. Don't worry about a party that you're not going to remember 10 years from now.
Exactly. The best is still yet to come. They just don't know that yet. It gets so much better. Not just get through it, enjoy it though. Find ways to enjoy those teen years because you can, With me, I really enjoyed my sports. Mm-hmm. Those are my best. I think had I not been involved in so many sports in high school, I may have had a different outlook on high school. Right. I loved it. I loved game days. I loved everything about it. And I feel like that's how I chose to fit in. So it's finding your way to fit in.
Right.
Things like that. So I'm kind of curious. I'm finding that, obviously with like mental health and just feeling down or being in a funk, because we all go through it, whether it's seasonal or it's happening right now. Yeah. I feel like nutrition, I've noticed with me, it's played a big difference. Like this week in general, obviously the sun's shining, that always helps me.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the rain we had a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where it never stopped. Yeah. It's always, plays a role. I think we all know that's real. But when it comes to nutrition, have you dealt with that at all? Because I know it's kind of a broader range. Do you deal with nutrition with your clients, or do you bring it up, or is it something you're looking into?
Mm-hmm. Again, currently with the clients that I work with, not so much, but when I worked in the outpatient, yes. I always try to talk about everything in moderation. Life is to be enjoyed, but you don't overindulge. No. Let's be honest. There's a time and place for everything. But and don't get me wrong, I love my ice cream and cookies, so I could never really give that up.
Right.
But I mean, you just physically feel better when you eat better, when you eat healthy, clean food. I can guarantee, and I would find it really hard to believe that anyone can just gorge on junk food and say that they feel fantastic and have so much energy. I would love to meet that person in real life.
Me too.
You just feel physically, mentally, wholeheartedly better when you're consuming healthy, rich in nutrient foods. I tried to let my clients know that when I was an outpatient about like what you consume makes you feel better. Sometimes, financial situations can be difficult. I'm hearing a lot of it's easier to go to, a fast food restaurant and get, $5 worth of food to feed, 2-3 people versus buying healthy items. And it's a little more expensive, but the investment for the food is a lot better overall for you. So just trying to spin that in a positive way. Again, I try to be as strength-based as possible.
Yes.
But I mean, it's difficult. I get it. Financially, it can be very difficult. But I mean, the long-term benefit is more beneficial than the immediate time. You know what I mean? But I'm hoping that they still retain that information. But we'll see.
Well, it's one of those things. I think when you're young, I know it was with me, that you're like, oh, but I'm young. Yeah, it's fine. And of course, it's one of those things you wish you knew. But that's learning. Living and learning, like you said, making mistakes and being okay with it and changing, because I've had some things happen to me, and that's what has set me on this path of trying to live a much better, life. And I make plenty of mistakes when it comes to nutrition. I've been doing great this week, and I think that also has the positive effect on how I feel about my life, because I know what I'm doing is good for my body. I'm feeding it foods that it needs. I'm feeding it foods that I know is going to help me thrive, and that makes a big difference on my outlook on life. I know it does. I think it's also because I think I'm proud of myself because I'm doing the right thing. I think there's many things that go into it, but to me, it's worth the money. But for those out there struggling financially, I also understand that, because there's times I'm out and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, but I only have 15 minutes. I'd love to go through a drive-through. Right. Well, there's nothing in a drive-through that I can honestly, there's maybe a couple things that I can really get that's going to feed the body the way I'm trying to feed it to feel better. And I wish there were some place out there I could just run through, because yes, convenience is a big deal in our society these days. And hopefully down the road, maybe some places will pop up that we can drive through.
Better options, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be driving through and get a cheeseburger, because I know what that's going to do to me and how I'm going to feel about it after. And then it's probably that negative self-talk we were talking about earlier. Why'd you do that? You knew better.
Right. Everything comes full circle.
It really, really does. So we were talking a lot about nutrition with that, but also I assume you probably give them the advice of, get out there, do something. Maybe you find a group, or whether it's a fitness class. Yeah,
I do.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about diet. You may not. Do you recommend vitamins at all for people?
I try to encourage my clients to definitely talk to the primary care physician to see what's going on in their body. Check their blood levels, because that's very important. It's going to address if there's any medical underlying health issues going on. But I mean, the basic ones definitely, I would say, is vitamin D. We live in an area where we don't get a lot of sun, especially during the wintertime. We're all vitamin D deficient. So yes, if you can get outside, even if you don't like the heat, I'm biased. I love summertime, so I'm always outside as much as possible. But the sun helps so much. There's a reason why if somebody's depressed, you go up to the window and you open the curtains, right? So I kind of remind my clients that you need to get outside, you need to get some vitamin D. And for the times, especially during the wintertime where we're not getting enough, you should definitely look into taking some vitamin D supplements. But again, I always encourage my clients to talk to their primary care physician and to get lab works done so they can see if they're deficient in other areas as well too. Fish oil is definitely helpful too, especially for your joints. So that's something I always recommend as well, as if possible. But again, I always tell them to talk to their primary care physician for that information. And also maybe even talking to a nutritionist or a registered dietitian as well for more in-depth nutritional needs in regards to diet and food intake, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. I think we forget sometimes, and Alex Uding, who's my co-host on here a lot, that she says that just because that's how you normally feel doesn't make it normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So check with your doctor. They may be able to give you more advice on how to help your body. Because if you're doing all these other things that you're giving them, you're practicing the positive self-talk, you're getting outside, you're trying to maybe take some off your calendar, you're trying to meditate or write things down, you're doing all these other things. Let's also take care of the inside of your body too, if we're going to treat the whole person. And I'm so glad that you recommend that to patients, because I think it is something, we're fine.
Right.
Nothing big happening yet.
Yet, keyword yet.
It's coming, I'm sure. I think we all can know that if we're eating cheeseburgers and French fries every day, that the problem's brewing. It just
absolutely
just yet.
It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time.
But not only just that, but like what might work for you may not work for me. What might work for, this person's sister might not work for that person's brother. So it's really important to follow up and see what your body needs and what your needs are. I think sometimes we all kind of take that for granted, or some people may take that for granted, but it's definitely something to bring to the forefront.
All right. You talk to your best friend and that's working for her. So you're like, it's going to work for me. It's like, well, we're all different. It's like, it's great to get advice and hear positive stories for people that, are having more energy, or they're losing weight, or they're just feeling better about themselves. Whatever they're doing, it must work for you. And it very well could, but it's still take a closer look in and seeing what's going best for you.
Right.
So you obviously are someone who cares about nutrition. All the self-care you do. I'm sure that food plays a big part in obviously cookies and ice cream, who doesn't? We all have our guilty pleasures.
Yes.
But like you said, everything in moderation. I know I have my guilty pleasures as well that I still work on. But like you said, I do better when I know I can have it sometimes.
Right.
It's what I say, never again. It's, I think, where you crash and burn, at least with
exactly.
It's like, I can have it sometimes. Just nope. Monday through Friday. Let's try to stick away, or even the weekend.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite foods? I'm kind of curious. I love to ask people.
Well, I would say like my favorite meal is lasagna. But my favorite foods, like for snack foods, would be definitely ice cream, brownies, and cookies. But for healthier foods, you can't go wrong with a decent salad.
Right.
I'm a stickler for just like the same old same for the most part. So chicken Caesar salad. I'm trying to think of. I'm a big fan of chicken.
That convenience factor, right?
It is. Yeah, you can dress it up, you can dress it down, you can throw it in a salad, you can throw it in a pasta, you can throw it in bread. Like it's so versatile.
It's perfect. I love it. Well, it's always fun to get ideas because you even tweak recipes. Like, I haven't thought of that dish in a while. Let me try it at home.
Exactly.
With this podcast being presented by Bytable Foods, obviously they have the mission to make our food system more transparent. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see major benefits for you, or is it something you're interested in?
I think it is very beneficial for me and for every consumer, quite frankly. I think the biggest thing that really hit home with me is the transparency behind the foods. We need to know where our food is coming from. It's very important. I mean, there's foods that we consume, if we're not paying attention, it has like fillers and just unhealthy stuff in it that's not necessary. It's not beneficial to us by any means. It's not making us healthier. It's not making us, fogging our minds because we're not getting the proper nutrients and vitamins that we need. Also, I know there's a lot of stuff with contamination recently too, and unfortunately people had to throw a lot of their food away. And again, financially, it might not be beneficial for a person to throw away their food. Again, don't get me wrong, I understand better safe than sorry. I'm pretty sure they would rather throw the food away than, have an illness. Absolutely. But again, it would just be more responsible for the food companies as well as consumers to just know where it's coming from, so that we can just be more confident in what we're bringing to our homes, be more confident in what we're consuming into our bodies. I think it's fantastic. And I hope that more awareness that's brought to the table with this too.
I think it's something that's kind of funny the more I think about this, and being with Bytable, it's interesting how the one body we're given, how we tend, because I was, and I still kind of am, I'm still trying to figure out how to find out where my food comes from and making better choices, but how we're kind of, as Americans, just okay with it. I think it's because it's the way it is, but it becomes normal to us. And with the idea of transparency, I know it can seem scary for some, but I think it'll benefit everyone. Because like you said, the contamination, that's not really going to stop, but at least, well, hopefully down the road we can get better. But in the meantime, hopefully we know if, lettuce or, fruits and vegetables, whatever we have that we think, we're stocking our refrigerator, we're so proud of ourselves, we're doing it, we're putting things in our body. Do we know where it came from? So we know that it's, a safe source at least. Or if it was contaminated, which things happen, we know where it came from. And like you said, we don't have to throw it away. And I mean, that helps me. And I think transparency, that word, is so important. I think in life, I think it's important to be transparent in many different ways than just with the food system. But right now, I'm just, really proud of Bytable for what they're doing. Do you see how this can benefit or play a role in your field at all?
I mean, I think it all goes hand in hand. I mean, the way that you feel better, you do better, you think better. It all goes hand in hand. What you consume, it's going to change how you operate, how you think, how you navigate life. I do think it's going to be very beneficial in the field.
Right. Well, I just love having this conversation with you because, as a professional yourself in the field you're in, and a lot of the people I've talked to, how important they find nutrition for anyone they work with and themselves. And I'm just hoping, and I didn't always feel this way. I should have. I didn't know. I think we just don't know. I think we want to do the right thing. We're just not informed. And so there's a lot of ways, obviously, with taking care of yourself that we've gone over today that I know the listeners are just going to love. And hopefully they're nice, helpful reminders to really look down and seeing what's going on, especially stress. But also it's another professional that says how important nutrition is. And I just want everyone out there to know, because my life's been so positively impacted.
It's awesome.
With that. So I appreciate you talking with us today and just giving all of your knowledge, because I think it's just wonderful for everyone to hear, because we can always be better. How can our listeners find you?
If anyone is interested, you can send me an email at sherry.flowwellness@gmail.com. So it's SHERI.FLOWWELLNESS@gmail.com.
Amazing. Well, you are definitely someone who I've also enjoyed talking to. So much knowledge. It's so personal. Your patients and clients are super lucky.
Thanks.
And it was a nice way to unwind my week, talking with you on Friday afternoon. So I appreciate you taking your time.
I appreciate you having me.
Starting.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I'm back here with Alex Uding. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. So that was a really awesome podcast I just had with Sherilyn, and she brought up a lot of important just thoughts I think that our listeners are going to love. And something that jumped out to me was the self-care and maybe the time management of it all. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on that and how that can work with people.
Yeah, I agree. I think I see with my clients and the people I work with a lot, self-care kind of sets the tone for your relationship with yourself, but also your relationship with other people. And I think sometimes that's missed because we're so busy in a world taking care of other people or thinking of other people. We put ourselves kind of lower on that list sometimes. And so because of that, we're not taking as good care of ourselves, and we're maybe not sleeping as well, eating as well, exercising, doing things that we think we should be doing or things that we know are good for us, but we don't want to take the time to do that because we want to make sure everyone else around us is getting what they need. And I think it's hard sometimes to see how you fall back when that happens and things pile up and you're not taking care of yourself. And sometimes it takes then something big to happen for us to realize that we aren't taking care of ourselves. And it's really, really hard to do, but kind of taking care of yourself kindles the fire to take care of everybody else. So I think it's a very important topic.
Oh, it absolutely is. And you were talking about the sleep, and sleep is such a big issue, I think, for so many people. Sometimes for me and even some of my friends, when you're going through a stressful time, or more stressful than most, you're laying in bed, and I know maybe we should be journaling or things like that. And maybe if I'm not doing that or my friends, it would help. But sometimes you just can't fall asleep, or you wake up and you're worried about the next deadline or the family member or your friend. Did you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in sleep hygiene, which is kind of just your routine that someone kind of figures out for themselves to get them ready for bed. And so I know for me, I feel guilty if I don't take the time to wind down and just let the day go. I'll stay up or I'll wake myself up during the night thinking about what I have to do. So I know for me, my sleep hygiene routine is I have to put my phone down. I can't look at my screen at least 15 minutes before bed. And I journal really quick, the list of things I think I need to do tomorrow. I finish with 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I read. And I went on a really big hiatus from reading for a very long time. And I think I needed to get out of my head and read somebody else's words to help me wind down. And I was like, oh, I'm going to read a chapter every night. It's going to be great. And then, no, I keep reading the same paragraph over and over again. I don't even bother. So this year I made the rule 2 pages. I limited the amount and made it doable for me. And it's no matter what, I have no excuse that I can't get through 2 pages of a book. And if I get through those 2 pages right before I go to sleep, I accomplish something and I feel good when my head hits the pillow because I actually succeeded in it. So I think sometimes self-care stuff, we think we need to put a big chunk of time aside to take care of ourselves, but it's little things like that too. 2 pages takes no time, but it's for me, it lets my head kind of unwind, and I feel so much better doing it. And kind of since I started the 2 pages thing, I've never missed a night reading before going to bed. Whereas before it'd be hit or miss because I thought it had to be this great gain that I had to really make progress in my book, and it doesn't need to be like that. So I think sometimes kind of thinking through strategies to make yourself feel like you're building success versus feeling guilty for not doing what we know we should be doing or we might want to be doing.
I think you're inside my head because reading is something I've been having a hard time. I do a lot of my professional development books for school, and I make time for that. But just reading for me, I'm I don't have time for that. I have a job. I have kids. I have this and this. You can make excuses for days, but I like how you broke it up into measurable chunks that were easier. And I've actually done that with just the elliptical for myself. I'm Kari, just get on. Just get on the elliptical. And then we'll see what happens. And if it's 5 minutes, that is 5 more minutes than you had. If it's 15, because sometimes all it takes is getting on and then you're fine. And make the time for it, just like the reading. Open the book, start reading. You might read that chapter or 2 chapters and whatever you wanted to do. And the screen time. I think that is such an important fact that I don't follow all the time because we can take our computers or our phone to bed and it makes it too easy to do that. And sometimes I find myself unwinding that way, with Facebook or Pinterest or my email. That's not unwinding. And that's not helping me with my sleep at all. So I love just your tips of journaling. And you even mentioned writing things you need to do tomorrow. Because I think sometimes we feel guilty of just writing everything we're grateful for, because we're grateful for so much, but we're like, how does that help us for tomorrow? But I like how you put that on paper. This is what you need to do. Now forget about it and go to bed.
Exactly. And I don't hold myself to it either. So like I make that list, and like once it's just out there, it's just like whatever jumble was in my head just gets put there, and then I'm done and I don't have to worry about it then. So, and I love what you said about like the elliptical, just getting on it. It's like just getting started. I tell a lot of my clients, especially the ones who are struggling, like they don't know how to incorporate either their physical therapy exercises or exercises in general. It's like, just start with 10 squats. When you get up from a chair and you're going to change your room, squat 10 times before you walk to the other room. And then suddenly at the end of the day, if you did that 5 times, you did 50 squats. And it feels like, wow, I did 50 squats. That's pretty darn cool.
Right.
And really, it took no time at all. Like, it's just learning to incorporate it in random parts of your day. Like, squat while you brush your teeth. Everyone's going to brush their teeth. It's going to take at least 30 seconds. And then you've done a minute of squatting in your day if you did it twice a day. So there's different ways we can take care of ourselves and exercise. And maybe that's just the starting point. Like, doing something for a few minutes counts. Like, you're doing it for you. And even when it feels like, when you get that negative self-talk of, I didn't set aside 60 minutes to exercise, you reframe it like Sherilyn was talking about. And it's like, I still got something in the craziness of my day. I still made time for me and I still exercised. And that starts, I think, to build upon itself. And like you said, suddenly sometimes you can hop on and go. And it was just the act of getting on that was the hard part.
Well, it's just setting ourselves up with, I don't have time for that. I can't do this. And you have these negative self-talk that you're talking about. And I'm laughing because I am like struggling with my 4-year-old in the morning with just going, even though he loves school, but what's going to go on after school. And I'm like, you like it there. It's no big deal. You'll have fun. And then here I am. It's no big deal, Kari. Get on the elliptical. It's no big deal. Put down your phone. And I just laugh how we have the same type of struggles as adults as we did as children. It's just learning to manage them in healthy ways. And this podcast, and I want to dive in a little more with the stress, anxiety, the self-care, the nutrition that goes into it, and a different podcast with you, because I think the possibilities are endless with what we can talk about. So we are going to do that, but I really wanted to bring you on tonight because we just thought of you immediately and we wanted to follow up because stress and anxiety is prevalent everywhere.
Thanks. Yeah, it really is. And I think sometimes, really good advice that someone gave me, because I'm a really good negative self-talker. I can bring myself down with the best of them. And my friend always reminds me, like, talk to yourself like you're talking to a friend. Like, you would never hold a friend or family member to the standard you hold yourself. And so sometimes in the reframing, it's like it's like you're talking to your son. Like, you don't hold it to him, you can easily talk him through getting through his struggles. And it's like, we need to do the same thing for ourselves. So talk to yourself like you're talking to a friend. And that can, I think, sometimes set us up for reframing.
That's an excellent thought to leave all the listeners with, because we all need to be much nicer to ourselves. Well, Alex, thanks for coming on tonight. And I look forward to following up a little more in depth later.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Bye.
Bye.